All right, it is 7 o'clock, so we're going to call this meeting to order. If we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could call the roll. Ms. Berkmeyer? Here. Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Richards?
Here.
Mr. Moses?
Here.
Mr. Giroux?
Here.
Mr. Middlestat? Ms. Knox? Yes. Okay. I will take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We'll move to the hearing of the public. I have two submissions tonight. Those who wish to address the board must complete a brief request stating their name, address, and the subject of their comments. Remarks about specific employees should be directed to them personally and not included in public forum. Administration will follow up with concerns within 48 hours of the board meeting, and you're asked to keep your comments to a 3-minute maximum. I first have Dominic V.
It's testing. Dominic Venditelli, if you shake your hand, it kind of helps with the enunciation a little bit. I live at 50577 Bauer Drive. I think I have to state that's my first time doing this sort of thing, so bear with me. But anyway, so ladies and gentlemen of the board, Mr. Jankowski and everyone else here today, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to add my input regarding school security for Anchor Bay as well as it relates to the Fortis Group. Firstly, I want to express my appreciation for the decision to employ armed security on school grounds. While some may be opposed to the proximity of firearms near their children for fear that they will fall in the wrong hands with catastrophic implications, believe me, I have a son myself. I understand the fear. I believe the proper way to regard the issue is that responsible gun ownership provides a safer environment, not a more dangerous one. A recent Gallup survey shows that half the country's households have guns in their home. It should not be an uncommon thought to assume that guns can safely coexist with law-abiding citizens. If Fortis Group cannot provide security in how the school is seeking, I would recommend finding another security group to provide a better service using the same concept. I believe it goes without saying that we should be cautious in the implementation of this initiative. Firstly, how do we know that the personnel Fortis Group is sending over will be well trained? The description provided of retired law enforcement and military with several certificates is a great start, but will the district be assessing these individuals personally to ensure they fit the description offered by Fortis Group? Secondly, how exactly will they be integrating into the school community? While it is great to have somebody pull aside a student having a bad day, will they also be active on social media to be on the lookout for threatening content? As stated in the website, Okay to Say, the program that you have, is a great start in my opinion, but I feel the district should also be making attempts to seek out suspicious content from students. Additionally, I feel that we should be looking to address the more mental health as one of the leading causes for school violence. Recent surveys have shown that kids today are less active, more isolated, prone to spend more time in front of a screen, or in need of excuse me, sorry, let me just recollect myself, and need or otherwise use medication on a chronic basis. The effect of fatherlessness in some households only exacerbates the issue. By the way, I'm an engineer by trade, not a psychologist, but I do have sources. And if you guys would like, I could share those with you. Just let me know. While I'm glad to see an entire wellness resource page on the Anchor Bay School District website, as well as the P2 Positivity Project Initiative, an additional opportunity that I believe exists is to link students with mentors. Research has shown that being mentored leads to more positive social relationships, higher academic performance, less problem behavior, as well as positive self-image, emotional adjustment, and psychological well-being. Is a mentor program something that you would be willing to consider? And lastly, my name is Dominic Venditelli. I am running for school board in this next upcoming election, and I look forward to potentially working with you in the future upcoming months. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have Stephanie R.
Hi, can you hear me? Good. Stephanie Richards, 9980 Arnold Road. I just wanted to speak today. First of all, I agree with a lot of the things that Dominic here just said. I think it's absolutely great that you guys are forward thinking. I support putting armed security guards in our schools. I trust that you're going to do your research, pick the right company. as well as do some mental health things. You guys have done a great job over the last year. I think it's great that we are being proactive and we're taking this, conscientiously. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Those are all the submissions I received for tonight. So we'll move on to communications.
We had one communication. This was from an Ashley Elementary teacher, basically just sharing her thoughts on the security situation as well. She understands the need and the discussion, and basically her concern was, again, how they'd be integrated with the students and introduced in as well, just the cost versus benefit ratio. And that was shared with you. And there's also a copy here if you didn't see the electronic version.
Thank you. So we will move to new business. We took the opportunity tonight with the proximity to the start of school to run another personnel report for tonight's meeting to allow us to approve a few more new hires before the start of school. So if there is a motion to approve the personnel report as it was presented.
I'll make that motion.
I will second. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. The next is the MASB's 2022 Delegate Assembly. We tabled that from last meeting to tonight because we were short on some board members at the last meeting that might be interested in the opportunity. The Michigan Association of School Boards Delegate Assembly begins Thursday, October 20th at 7 at the Grand Traverse Resort in Acme, Michigan. So the delegates are selected by the boards across the state, and they will decide MASB's position on a wide variety of issues affecting education. So the board needs to select a delegate or nominate a delegate and an alternate if we can. So at this point, I will open up for volunteers or nominations if there's anybody that wants to attend for this year.
I wasn't able to make last year, so I would like to go this year if no one else wants to.
I'll nominate you. I nominate John DeRue for being a delegate.
Second.
And do we have an alternate?
I'll nominate Pat Green.
I'll second that.
All right, so is there a motion to nominate Mr. John DeRue as our delegate for the assembly and Mr. Patrick Green as our alternate? So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you for volunteering. And lastly, for new business, we have the armed security personnel. We discussed this last meeting. We had a presentation from the Fortis Group last meeting. It did get tabled until tonight just because of board attendance, and we wanted to give opportunity for community participation as well on potentially controversial issue. But Mr. Jankowski was going to offer kind of a summary for us of how we've gotten to this point and the line of thinking that brought us to this motion.
As we've been reviewing our security procedures over the last year, we have been meeting with our local law enforcement partners, staff members, and other parties to modernize our approach to district safety. As part of this process, we have been taking into account information gleaned from the Oxford and Uvalde incidents. Personally, as someone who began his career prior to Columbine, I've witnessed the evolution of school security with each subsequent incident. The world of school safety is far different than it was when I started over 27 years ago. Over the summer, we have conducted on-site active shooter trainings with multiple jurisdictions, trained over 30 trainers for the district and ALICE protocol so that each site will have at least 2 certified trainers. They have begun the process of installing door barricades on over 700 doors in the district. Likewise, we have included several $1 million in security upgrades to our buildings in the upcoming bond, ranging from additional cameras, instant alert system, fortified entrances, to even rebuilding 2 elementaries so that the buildings that were constructed in 1950s, which was a very different era, could be modernized with the best security features possible. The one question I continually receive from parents is that many of these improvements will take a while, and what are we planning to do in the meantime? I understand and share the concerns, which is why we began to investigate our security options over the past year. They understand as a district, we have been behind on some things prior to my arrival, and that this is an opportunity to not only catch up, but move ahead. We normally have 9 unarmed security guards in the district and 3 school resource officers that rotate amongst our buildings. In recent years, we have struggled to replace 5 of the open security positions, which is why the board voted earlier this month to increase salaries for those positions. Likewise, we have sought to expand our school resource officer coverage, but like many positions, local police forces are struggling to find staff. We spoke to many of the third-party vendors that are active in schools, and they offered to get their near minimum wage personnel licensed to carry weapons. Few of the organizations that we researched had robust training regimens or available personnel with the experience that we would like to see in someone entrusted to carry a firearm around our students. After looking at the costs and contacting other districts that have recently added armed security, we have found that based on the new pay scale for security, for about 20% more, we can secure retired and law enforcement or military veterans. The vendor that we have been working with provided the same service in the Huron Valley District last year and recently extended that agreement for this year as well. They're willing to work with us to select experienced personnel that have the correct temperament to be in a school setting. We will be able to vet those. They will also have the same background checks that all of our employees have. Our legal counsel is currently working on an agreement that would be for 3 years that will allow us to provide this added measure of security above our current complement of school resource officers and security guards. These would not be uniform security, but rather dressed in khakis and polo shirts with a firearm visible in a holster. The plan is for these individuals to be more than a person sitting at a door or in a car. They will help with the arrival and dismissal, provide an extra set of eyes on the playground or when students are outside. The plan is to have them be as inconspicuous as possible for students, but also be aware and alert to possible threats that may arise. We considered bringing them on in-house, but with the extra pension and benefit costs that school districts bear, we can provide a higher hourly wage if we contract externally, hopefully attracting a more qualified person. Likewise, we are simply unable to provide the training they would need. It is beyond our expertise and wherewithal to do it internally. Our local law enforcement partners do not have the capacity to train private citizens. Therefore, we are asking the board to consider their approval of the proposed motion.
So the superintendent's recommendation is for a motion to approve the contract with Fortis Group as armed security personnel for anchor-based schools. Is there a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Yes. Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay. Any discussion amongst the board?
Just one thing is, I don't think anybody wants armed security in this, anybody, I don't believe anybody wants to have armed security in the school, right? In my mind, this is more like insurance. Nobody, what's that? Oh, I'm sorry, can you hear me now? Okay. I don't believe that anybody buys insurance with the intent on using it, right? You buy it just in case. Is this an end all be all? No. But I don't think I could sit here and have something happen knowing I could have voted something that could have prevented it. So that's kind of where I'm at. I wasn't at the last board meeting because I was stuck at work, but that's where I'm at. This is insurance. It's relatively cheap considering what the loss could be. And that's all I wanted to say. I just want to get that out.
Thanks. Any other comments?
Go ahead, Mr. Drew. You look like you're keying up.
Well, I wasn't at the last meeting either, so I apologize. Some of this stuff is, trying to get a lot of information on it. I know you've done a lot of research on the companies maybe, but this is still relatively new to a lot of us up here. Just want that to be known to the public. So, since the last meeting, I've been trying to find out information about the group and then call around to other public safety, call around to other officers, see, and, talk to parents. So first, I didn't really know if I was for this as far as with a private firm coming in and having armed security here. I spoke with them today, one of their owners, sound like a very reputable company. They've been doing security for years. This would only be their second school. So here, I found out Huron Valleys was their first. Last year was their first year doing this. This is the new part of their business model. And during that conversation, there were some other things I had questions about, whether they should be open carry, not open carry, because they said they could be concealed. I don't know how they're inconspicuous if they got a firearm on their side, so that's something I'm sure we could look at. Maybe in the elementary school, they're not open carry. In the high school, they're open carry. But so I was kind of on the side of going this way. I talked to a few more officers and they spoke highly of the people that run the company. They're kind of well known. Two of them still work for Sterling Heights, so they're still in the industry of police officers. So, but when you first brought this up at our finance committee meeting, my first take was I would rather have it be officers from Chesterfield or New Baltimore. Have it be our sworn officers in this area who know our community, who know our people. If we're going to have guns in the schools, let's have them. I just got off the phone, just coming in, and I hate to do this to you and at a meeting, but I didn't have a lot of time and I got work. Chesterfield swears that they could handle this. Chesterfield, I like literally when I was walking in here, and they said they've never been asked to have more officers. They said it's such a value to them to have an officer in the schools to get that, that relationship with the students, the relationship with people, to hear rumors before they start, to hear any plans that might be coming out, that's invaluable to them. It's the detective's first go-to when stuff comes up in a lot of instances. So I don't know how that, why they would say that they have that ability to man our schools with more officers. I know New Baltimore, I don't believe does, the people I spoke to in New Baltimore, but Chesterfield said that they could handle, if New Baltimore was willing, they could handle the New Baltimore schools. So before we go to an entity that is new to the industry, something we don't really, again, I after talking to them, I think they hire only former military, only former officers. They sound very good. I'm sure they're great at what they do. And again, they're owners, people spoke very highly of. But me, for one, on this board, I would much rather it be, if the capacity is there for Chesterfield to handle this, I would rather have it be a sworn police officer from our area, in our district. And they told, what they had said is that even with the current one we have, they don't charge us the retirement costs and all those costs associated. It's just an hourly for that person. And really, at this point, if we're going to this level to have a lot of guns floating around our school, cost, I know cost is number one most of the time, but cost is secondary to me on this one. When we're gonna go this route, I think it's necessary. I think all that you said is right, and all this I would hate, like Mr. Moses said, to rally about we shouldn't do this, and then something happened, and we're gonna be looking through that rearview mirror wondering what if. But if we can accomplish the same goal and have sworn officers and work with the communities that we're in, and they can get help to keep our community safer within doing that, That would be mine. And I know this is throwing a wrinkle and I apologize. I worked all day and I made as many phone calls as I could. And I just got that information tonight. So thank you.
No, and just to address it, we have met with Chesterfield. I met with them actually earlier today, and we just, at the cost that it is for a regular school resource officer, it could be potentially 3 to 4 times what it is now. So they get the coverage that's the concern for across all the jurisdictions. And we'd like to be able to provide some coverage across all of our buildings. And so that's kind of how we settle on this, because yes, while they're not covering all of the benefits and everything like that, the cost is still considerable. And we do have a budget that we're trying to fit within over the course of that. So this seemed between the options, the most economical value that we could provide.
Okay. I just want to push back then a little bit, because at our finance committee meeting, and Phil, you said that they didn't have the capacity. It was never said to us, Mr. Green, you were there, Mr. Richards was there. It was never said to us that they had the capacity and it was a cost issue. It was they didn't have the capacity. So when I found out tonight that they had the capacity, why are we not exploring that prior to going and signing with them? And when they said they do the hourly, so the hourly rate from this company, now I see on here it says 42. He told me on the phone 46. What is the hourly rate that we're currently paying Chesterfield for Officer DePate?
That I would have to have Todd inquired with New Baltimore, with Chesterfield and all that before he went down this. When we had our security meetings, Chesterfield's been part of it. St. Clair, Macomb, all of them were there, and we had this discussion. We had discussion about training. We had discussion about all of that. At no point did they express that they would be able to do this. So I understand if now that we're at this point that's where they're at, but that wasn't. I mean, this discussion has been going on for really throughout the entire time that we've been looking at our security.
This discussion has been going on how long?
For the duration of the summer, at least, we've been meeting to coordinate with our security personnel.
I just, maybe I miss things. If they have the capacity, I, for one, would like to see the cost difference then between Chesterfield being able to do it with sworn officers and an outside company being able to do it. And if they're just charging us the hourly rate for an officer and they're not charging us the legacy costs, I'd love to see what that difference is and have this board look at that instead of jumping into this company. Again, I've talked to them at length today. I've talked to probably at least 8 officers today that I happen to know a lot of police officers. I know Mr. Green does, and I'm sure he's talked to a ton as well. They all know them. They're great guys and all that. But after talking to Chesterfield and them talking about the benefits of them being in our school, I didn't even think about that really on their end and how that helps them. And that keeps our community safer. And that helps us where they could come to you or whoever that, when they go to when things happen. So we should know at this meeting what the cost of what we're currently paying our officers hourly. And then what the cost difference would be, because we could do it simple. If it's $60 an hour, we know it's a difference of 14. I mean,
Yeah, I don't have that available offhand.
Okay.
If I had known we would have, but I'll tell you, when I met today with Chesterfield, and this is the second meeting, and discussed this is where it's at, and this is kind of the price point, they said, basically it's, we understand it's almost a no-brainer. So they said they were happy to work with us, willing to work with the people. And so that was the conversation we had.
Any other board comments?
I guess I'll chime in. I feel like as a board member, I'm tasked with creating a safe, secure, healthy environment for our students. Part of that is hiring the most competent and qualified staff, teachers, superintendent, all the way down to my bus driver. So for me, I feel like this is the right move to bring in an outside service. I've seen the resumes of the people that they're looking at, candidates that will still fully vet, that'll come into the district. And I've also talked to federal, state, and most importantly, local, law enforcement, and they're in full support of this. Even our officers that are in our schools. I did some travels yesterday. We had a professional development day for our teachers. I had the opportunity to speak to a lot of our K through 12 teachers there. And then I ventured out after that around the district and wandered into an elementary school and talked to the administrator there, as well as 15 teachers that were there setting up for school to start. And the resounding results of my informal survey were, if we're putting competent, qualified people into our schools, they're okay with it. And again, I unfortunately couldn't make it to any more schools today. They were all out anyway on a different professional development task. An additional kind of a sidebar, I don't take outsourcing services lightly. As a district, we don't outsource a bunch of services aside from maybe some lawn care and grounds maintenance. However, at this juncture, I feel like as a board member and based on the results of my homework over the past 2 weeks, since we did talk about this in finance, that we need to do something. We certainly looking at outside security for me is going to be a quicker resolve than going to a local police department to bring folks in. There's some jurisdictional issues that go with that. And our district's in 2 different counties. For those of you that don't know that, we're in Macomb and St. Clair County. I'm sure we can get around all those, and I'll leave that to the people to make those decisions. But for me tonight, I feel like we need to do something for the start of school on Tuesday. I feel like it's been researched. I feel like the community as a whole that's reached out to me is supportive of it. And therefore, quite honestly, I'm supportive of it.
In talking with our community members and some of our teachers, especially at professional development yesterday, it's been a resounding yes. They feel comfortable. Above all else, our students need to feel safe and our parents need to feel safe sending them in. I heard, after the incident with Oxford, and then which a parent reminded me of today, they bought their elementary schoolers smartwatches in case there was an emergency. And they said they felt much better having additional, armed security. We already have, armed officers. So this is just adding that extra layer of protection. And like Mr. Moses said, I would rather know that we did everything we could than nothing at all. And the cost, like he also said, is worth more than what the loss could be.
All right.
I kind of echo, Mr. Green's comments, Mrs. Knox's comments at opening day. Staff seems to be on board with it. A few things that go through my mind is after what happened at Oxford High School, I went to the high school the next day here at Anchor Bay, and, it was very emotional. You could see it, with the teachers and staff and students. I went to both middle schools and, attendance was down. I believe we all received emails from parents, asking us, what are we going to do? What were we going to change? And I think this is a good direction. We have a responsibility, as Mr. Green was saying, for a safe environment with our district. And to me, this is a change. Mr. Jankowski made a great comment. I'd rather have the press here today for this event than if something, was horrible was to happen, to have the press here. So, I'm in full support of it. So Mr. DeRue's point too, I would like to see, if Chesterfield could take on, a couple of things in mind too. I just want to make sure that they understand, as Mr. Green was saying, we have schools in different counties as well. I just want to make sure that, McCons is included, all the elementary schools are included, both middle schools. If we're going to start talking to them as well, further on down the line. So For me, with school coming up on starting soon, this agreement would start with school starting as well. Okay, yeah, that's, but I can't, allow, I cannot sit back and not do anything. So, but I am in full support of it. Thank you.
And I'll just close with that. I echo similar comments in that, we had some professional development going on this week, and we've received emails from Mr. Jankowski even over the summer, concerns from parents about even simple things like doors being propped open. I don't think that anybody employed in this district wants to make a mistake like that. I don't think that anybody does something like that intentionally, but mistakes happen. And that's unfortunately how some of these tragic events occur. So if I, for this price, if I can provide an extra set of eyes and ears and an extra layer of security that we admittedly know that we have lacked by reference of our strategic planning and our bond planning that we know that we need to put forth, but we also know there's supply chain issues, and that as much as we want them, we aren't going to get those things as fast as we wanted them, which was yesterday. So I would like to go forward with this because I feel that I can't put a price on our children's safety. And I know that safety is an issue in this district right now, and that an issue that we have been behind on. Our intention and our plans with our bond and going forward are to catch up on all of those things. But in the meantime, as people have asked, what are we going to do? So if I can provide an extra layer, at least in the meantime, and until we can maybe catch those things up, and maybe we'll reach a point that this isn't necessary anymore. Maybe we'll be happy with it and we'll continue indefinitely. I don't know. But right now, I feel like this is the right step for our district.
Can I just want to be clear. I'm not against doing this. I'm not against bringing them in here.
Yeah.
Or bringing more armed security in. I'm for it being a sworn police officer from my area. I heard some things out of every one of you saying that we're going to be able to vet these people. School starts next week. They're going to be here next week. Not one person up here has vetted any one of these people. In the contract, we don't vet the people. They vet the people. So if you're underneath that assumption that we're going to vet them, we're not. And two of you said that, well, it's great. We got to do something tonight because they're going to be here next week. Yeah. And we don't know who they are. That's a problem to me. I have full faith in my Chesterfield Police Department, my New Baltimore Police Department, my Macomb County Sheriff, St. Clair County Sheriff, full faith that they have good people on staff that could do this for us. My other issue is, a lot of you said, you can't put a cost on this. You can't put a cost on your kid's safety. That's exactly what I'm saying. And I'm sorry, Mr. Jankowski, but when we were in the finance committee meeting, it was they didn't have the capability to do it. They do. And you said yourself just a few minutes ago, it's going to be more costly. And we have a budget to stand by. Well, which is it? Do we have a budget to stand by? Or can we not put a price on the kids' safety? I know I tend to be the guy that gets in arguments, but I'm not trying to get in an argument. I apologize. I wasn't here at last meeting. I'm talking to these people. They told me they have talked to the district, and they have told the district they've been trying to get more people into the facilities for years. The last superintendent didn't want more. You do. You're great. You want to bring on more safety. Thank you. Thank you for everything you've been doing here. It's great. I'm not trying to be negative with you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say, if it's going to cost us more, and we get to have the Chesterfield police in here, and maybe New Baltimore will be able to step up. When it comes to jurisdiction, Mr. Green, they told me which I didn't know, that all 911 calls for New Baltimore and Chesterfield go through Chesterfield.
Correct.
I didn't know that. But they all work good together. I'm sure if we went over and talked to New Baltimore, they would work together. And if it's going to cost us a few dollars more, and it helps in that area. So it's not I'm trying to say not protect our kids. I'm 100% for protecting our kids. So that's all. I'm going to be a no vote if we're going to vote on this because we don't know who's coming into our school. We could talk to them. I talked to him for probably 30 minutes. Sounds like a great guy. Like I said, talk to other people he knows. But you guys said we're going to vet them and we don't know who they are and they're going to be here next week.
They did give us their profiles. It was in the presentation that we received last week.
It was in the presentation that isn't online and.
It was
and
given to us.
That's,
I
you have it right in your hand, Mr. Drew.
I just got it tonight.
No, the other
I
piece in your right
can't
hand.
help
This
your
one?
attendance.
Yes,
This is,
the executives are on one side, the 4 officers they're looking at putting in our schools are on the other.
Yeah, it was shared last week. I mean,
I know I wasn't here.
Yeah,
I
we didn't-
apologize.
But
So
obviously-
anyway, I just,
obviously they're candidates and we don't want to
Yeah.
put their information out there until we've kind of settled on who the people are going to be. But yeah, that was shared. I mean, it's the same thing, even going back as we've had this conversation and work with when we had the active shooter training on site, I'll tell you, the jurisdictions are like, it is tough to kind of coordinate across jurisdictions. We threw some scenarios at them, just even in the most recent one where we introduced the group as, hey, this is what we're looking at. What's the thoughts on all of that? And it was well received. And again, I just met earlier today and that was kind of the thing. I mean, our assistant superintendent of business, Todd, he's been the one who's been leading the security like discussions and all that. So he's the one that has been having the conversations. But I'll just give you a good example of we've been working for over a year now on Parks and Rec. Okay, something fairly straightforward to try and get cooperation across jurisdictions. That has been slow going to try and coordinate that. I love the jurisdictions that we work with, but when you start crossing those lines, it does get dicey all the time on who's going to have control and all of that. So at this point, this is probably the prudent option.
okay, so let me just follow up then is with Chesterfield, you said it was a money. You said it was part of it would be more expensive and we got to stick to a budget. Was that the same thing with New Baltimore? Because I just brought up that they could do New Baltimore
No,
if they
they're-
needed to.
I mean, cost.
Because New Baltimore might be able to, I'm wondering, I didn't get a chance to talk to
What-
anybody
what-
in leadership at New Baltimore.
I guess I'm confused on, 2 meetings ago, you were upset with the budget and where it was going, and there was limitations on it. And then now we bring a proposal that's fairly reasonably priced and provides the coverage. And we've had these discussions with them. This has been ongoing. And all of a sudden now we don't, I mean, yeah, there's no limit on what we're going to pay. There's a cost benefit to everything. There are other things that we would like to do. And if we can provide security, and that's the plan. I mean,
Okay. If you're going to say that I brought up the budget, yeah, I did. I brought up the budget. This is not apples to apple. That was about pay for employees. That was the difference between when we were paying the teachers, when we were paying the rest of the employees, trying to do $15 an hour. That was that. That's a whole nother thing. I don't want to get into that, but that was a whole different thing. And we talked about that at length. The first time I was introduced to this was at our finance committee meeting. And nowhere in that meeting did you say they could have the capacity to do it. It was a money thing. I asked you flat out. I said, does Chesterfield or New Baltimore have the capacity to give us an officer in every school or whatever we're trying to do here? Because we're not trying to do an officer at every school. So does Chesterfield have it? And you said no.
yeah,
and-
because up until that point, that's not.
But now you're saying that's my confusion here is now you're saying they do, it was a money thing.
No, it's an additional factor that is in there as
But
well.
we just heard tonight, it's not. And what's the difference? Because if we're going to do this, and this is such a big deal, we do have the news here tonight. It's such a big deal. We will be one of the first schools to do this in Macomb County, I believe.
Mhm.
And I found out, now that's another thing you bring up. Sterling has sworn officers. Sterling Heights, Ford, I believe. There's like 3 or 4 other ones that they told me, Chesterfield told me they have sworn officers. And everybody will tell you the best thing to do is a sworn officer if you can do it. But so up until tonight, I didn't know that there was, that's why I'm doing it right now. I don't mean to do it to you tonight, but I just found it out. And he told me he met with you and he told me that he told you this. So, but you also didn't tell me at the finance committee meeting that they had the capacity and now you're telling me they do, but it's a money thing.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is at the finance committee meeting, up until that point, when we looked at our options, they were telling us, because we even asked about like training, because you had asked about hiring people internally. And when we met with the committee, which on the security committee, there was, St. Clair County, Macomb County, Chesterfield, New Baltimore, they were all there. And that was not the message that was given, or that they had any capacity to do any of that.
Okay, let me ask you this way. Knowing now they have capacity, would you change your mind?
At this exact moment, no.
Let's call the question.
Is that an actual call to question? Are you making a motion as the chair to call the question?
The motion
Motion
was
was already
already
made.
made and
Who
seconded.
made it?
Mike
And Ms.
and seconded.
Mr. Moses,
Yes.
Ms. Knox, yes. Ms. Berkmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Drew.
No.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, let's move to board comments. We'll start with Mr. Drew.
You couldn't even give him a break. Give him 30 seconds.
It's just amazing. We don't know how to run meetings, but I'll start with it. It's great day the other day, the opening day. Thanks for the invite, Mr. Jankowski. It was great to see everybody coming out, the whole staff. At Jerry Brooks, that was my first time seeing him. It was a great, like I said, a great day. Laughter. He had great messages, a lot that could take home, probably a lot that could take home till right here at this meeting. I got a chance the day before as well. I was walking around the high school, and ended up seeing the new teachers getting orientation. Went in there and seen them, said hi, and it was great. Just kind of watched, and I seen the link crew. That was my first real experience, really getting educated on how that all works and how that's going, and that's a great program. Today, I seen your Project Positivity out there. I think, again, everything you're doing is great. Don't take tonight, I hope, and the public, don't take tonight as I'm passionate about what I believe in. I'm always going to fight for what I believe in.
Yeah.
I like everybody up here. Pat and I, or Mr. Green and I talked the other day. It's not a personal thing. It's just what I believe. I apologize to the superintendent for doing this at this minute, and we'll talk after, well, whatever is. It was information. I was trying to get as much information as I can so I can make the best decision for the residents and the students of this district. And I believe that was the best way to go. And I believe we rushed this. I believe that you may have been working on it for a while, and kudos to you. But I'm not fully, I don't believe that myself or any other board member for that chance had the ability to fully vet this. If you're gonna bring 4 people into this district from a piece of paper and say that that's vetting, come into my apprenticeship interviews at my training center, and I'll show you what a piece of paper will say as opposed to what a person does out there on the job. So with that, thank you, and I'll see you in next meeting.
Mike?
Yeah, I just want to add on that I would have no issues with Chesterfield Police. the one thing I do like about using a private company is they are paid for by the district. There's nothing really that can pull them away. There's no accident. You know, you have a large issue that happens during school hours. Most of these officers are going to get pulled, right? These people are our people. And that being said, I think it would be an extreme strain to put on them. And I think we're better off with people that we own and we hire, and then possibly looking at the future of seeing what Chesterfield can offer.
I think we made the right decision for night based on what we have in front of us, with the information we have, and the need to do something to start the school year. I'm not a panic person. I don't panic generally for anything. But I think getting these folks on board, and it's right for the district right now. It might not be right for the district next year. And at that time we circle back, maybe sooner than that. We circle back, we take a look at it, and figure out what our options are. As far as this week, I heard from several teachers in my travels and from being at the Professional Development Day, some teachers that are 20, 25-year veterans say that this is simply the best PD day they've ever had. And it wasn't just one. I'm seeing it on social media from teachers that are friends and acquaintances. I heard it from building administrators. I'm hearing it from everybody. So congratulations. Kudos to you for you and Joe and Sherry. I know you guys worked hard to put on a great day. The challenge is next year you have to trump it. So we'll be looking forward to that as well.
I'm just gonna echo what Mr. Green said about opening day. It was really cool. A lot of excitement. The band playing us in the morning, that was great. It was, I described it more as a pep rally, and there was an overwhelming number of comments in person, on social media from friends of mine who are teachers outside of our district, very envious of what was going on. And then again today to see, them going out with the Positivity Project and going out into the community, and really doing hands-on things as opposed to just sitting there. I think the staff certainly appreciates that, and our community does, because they're visible throughout, and that's really cool. But it was fun. Even though I'm not a teacher, I learned a lot. All of those lessons can be useful to anyone, which is great, because that's what we're trying to teach our kids is, and that's about it. I think what school starts Tuesday. Yeah. So good luck coming back to school.
I'd like to thank you for the invite to opening day also. It was obviously the second one, and probably, as Patrick was saying, they keep getting better and better. Jerry Brooks was great. I'd also like to say, his presentation was obviously, outstanding, but your presentation was pretty, put together pretty well yourself. So I want to thank you for your presentation, your motivation, the leadership you've brought to the district. To Patrick's point, the staff members have been here 25 years. Mr. Jankowski, myself are talking, and a teacher walked up with 25 years experience and pretty much echoed the same thing. I'd like to welcome the new teachers. I'd like to also thank, all the teachers out there with the Positivity Projects. I saw some things on social media. Looks great. I think it's great for our community, great for our district. I know a lot of students may not be looking forward to the first day of school, but I'm actually looking forward to the first day of school and looking forward to a great year. So thank you.
Yeah, I had also had the opportunity to attend the opening day with all of the board members, and it was phenomenal between our administrators presenting and Mr. Jerry Brooks. I think it was uplifting, some painful truths at times, but also funny. So I think it was a good start for everybody in our district, and to kind of get everybody in a good mindset and on the same page. And with that, I will just say, I hope everybody has a great first day of school on Tuesday, and we have a great, healthy, happy school year. Other than that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Meeting adjourns at 7:50. Good night.